Hello, everybody. My name's Jean McDonald, and I do transition coaching. And today I wanted to talk about how to stay calm during a tough transition. Now, I'm going to break this talk down into three areas of calmness. First of all, the physical, the mental, and the emotional. Secondly, I'd like to thank you for listening to this. And I know if you are listening to it, you probably are or have recently been through a very tough transition. So I sympathize with that totally. A tough transition. Well, my toughest transition was when my husband passed away. It was sudden but not unexpected. He had health problems, but the day he died was, he was actually seeming healthier, he was doing better, he was happier, and then all of a sudden he was gone. And the first thing I want to talk about with physical calm is my family knows me, and they knew this was probably the most extremely tough thing I'd ever have to go through with my life. They also know that I need to deal with things on my own, that I need quiet in order to process. And so they were okay right away leaving me alone. I wanted to, after we left the hospital, my stepson drove me home, and my best friend checked it, do you need someone to be with you? And I said, no, I'm fine alone this evening. I said, tomorrow I'm going to need help, but this evening I'm just fine. And the important thing is they let me have that time to uh, process, just mentally process what was going on. So having that physical quiet, not people running around, not people telling me what I needed to get done, because I did need to call the hospital and take care of his organ donation. I needed to set up a mortuary, the whole thing. I did not want to deal with that right away. I just wanted to be alone. And thank goodness my friends and family allowed me to have that. And they knew if I needed them, that they were just a call away. But don't feel guilty about it. Sometimes, like, I was worried about my stepson, how he was dealing with it too. And it was like, how are you doing? Do you need me to be here for you? And he said, no, I also need time alone. And it was good that we were both along that line, but uh let others step in and help. It's kind of a little bit of a thing, little bit of a tug, because sometimes that can, going through something like this together, especially those first 24 hours, can be um, a bonding situation. And if you both need each other and rely on each other, that's great. That's great. But my stepson and I, although we are so connected, we both needed to process on our own. And and even it wasn't even just first 24 hours, but the fact that we had that time to just sort through everything, that initial time was invaluable. So really, but don't feel guilty about asking for that. People say, what do you need? What do you need? And you say you need that, and they don't want to give you that. And some families will be this way. They don't want to give you that time alone. You have to, if they won't go away, lock yourself in a room. I used to do that as a kid when I wanted to be alone. Just lock myself in a room to have that alone time, and just let people know you need some time. Even if they won't let you have any time, just ask for an hour where you could just lay down and process everything in your head. So that's my first big tip on how to stay calm during a tough transition. Now, a transition that doesn't involve death, this is also important to have that time alone to process what's going on. And this might be a case where you don't need 24 hours like I did, but you might need to take some time during the day, and it might be every day during the transition, to just sit down with yourself and be alone, allow yourself to process. And related to that is my second tool in the physical realm. It's physical and it goes into all three, the physical, mental, emotional, is meditation, contemplation, and prayer. And I kind of group those together because they're all related depending on your spiritual place. For some people, they can get down on their knees and pray through the transition, pray for guidance, pray for strength, pray to not let fear overwhelm them. The contemplation and meditation for me are quite similar because when I meditate, I'll use a mantra. When I contemplate, I might also use a mantra. For me, and this is my own personal definition of the difference between contemplation and meditation, is with meditation, it's more about what I understand. For me, it's more about going into that place of no thought, of that if thoughts rise up and the monkey thoughts rise up, you gently acknowledge them and then you gently put them down. Not put them down, but put them, let them kind of push them aside and then go back into that peaceful, tranquil place. When I do contemplation, and I know this isn't the way everyone does it, when I do a contemplation, I love those thoughts because thoughts and ideas, because I have like that crazy monkey brain. When those thoughts bubble up, I'll actually like stop and write them down because it's like a creative release for me. So whether you're going to do prayer, whether you're going to do meditation, whether you're going to do contemplation, allow yourself at least 20 minutes, preferably twice a day, to do that. It'll first of all help you physically because you'll get rid of, it'll help you slow down. Just slow down because your heart's going to be racing. You might be overwhelmed with sadness on and off, but it'll just help you catch your breath. And that's it. That's another one related to this is the breathing. Do some breathing exercises. It's a physical way to release that pressure that's building up inside. And during tough transitions, we have a lot of pressure building up inside. So we have spending time alone, spending time doing meditation, contemplation, prayer, or breathing, I should say. And the last one is one that I just tried out recently because I could not get myself to meditate or contemplate. I was so tense and so tight to this transition I was going through when my brother had a seizure and I had to move him from Santa Fe into my house, into my life. All of a sudden, it was just a 1 week process. He was there, he was well, he wasn't well, went down, got him, brought him here. A complete tough transition that occurred within a week, and I could not settle myself down. I couldn't breathe. And so what I found, and I hadn't tried this before, but a friend of mine's an RN who is also a hypnotherapist offered a program in hypnotherapy. And we actually were using it because my weight was going all over the place. My eating habits, my health habits were off, just horrible. So we went into the hypnosis with that as the goal. But I noticed after even that first hypnotherapy session, just going into a trance for 20, 25 minutes, oh my gosh, it was such a relief to have, excuse me, that release of tension. It was a place where I could finally go and be fine. I'm going to mute this so I can cough. Excuse me. So this, so yeah, so the hypnotherapy, going into a trance really helped me just finally relax, finally remove all that physical tension out of my body. And when I did that, yes, then you want to eat healthier, you want to move, you want to do something because you're not like this, you're not all every muscle in your body is tense, is you're like in you're like in rigor mortis practically. You're just so the hypnosis really helped me. So I hope that's an option for you. If you can't find any other way, or you just want to make some changes in your life, the hypnosis can be a good way to do it. Now, when you going through a tough transition, this is related to what we were already talking. Your mind can just be, you get overwhelmed. Your mind's going in too many directions at too many times, too many directions, too much is happening, and you can't process it mentally. So, first of all, I'm going to go back to the physical ones. When you do those physical exercises, it'll help start to ease some of that mental overwhelm. So, those two obviously are going to be very related. The second thing, and I did this actually in the first 24 hours after my husband passed away, and it might sound totally bizarre, but I needed something, some place to put that mental energy. And I had this stack of vintage train magazines that I was planning to put on Amazon. I was planning to sell them on Amazon. And they were sitting there, and there was about, I don't know, 35 of them. And I sat down and listed all of those. It was a great way to do something to just to occupy my mind. It wasn't too hard that I had to really focus, but it wasn't too easy where my mind could wander off. I needed to, and I did that. I listed like 35 or so magazines on Amazon that night. And once again, it was this release for me. It's like that my mind was doing something other than worrying, other than being overwhelmed by all that happens when you're going through a tough transition, a tough loss, like I was going through. But I noticed even when I was younger, I traveled to Africa for 5 months. And once again, that was a big transition. Culturally, physically, I went over there. I went to Africa for 5 months without a real strict game plan. I just wanted to see Africa. I wanted to experience Africa. And from day one, I was overwhelmed by Africa. I flew into Nairobi and I figured things out. So after 3 months in Nairobi, and then I went to West Africa for 2 months, came back to Nairobi and went home. By the end, I had things figured out. But at the beginning, that mental overwhelm, the thing I did, I bought a deck of playing cards and I played solitaire. And it was a mixture of that physical, shuffling the deck and moving the cards around. And that mental, once again, it was mentally enough to occupy my brain, but not too mental where I really needed to focus. And I just would do that for an hour or so. Today we have video games that, although, I like them for a short amount of time. They can draw you in where you do them too much, but they can be used as this little mental release. I think that's why they are kind of addictive, is these games, uh, because it's that they take enough focus where it's distracting your mind, but it's not too much where it makes it too stressful. So anyway, that was one way I could relieve. The second way I could relieve the mental stress. The first way being doing the meditations, doing all the physical stuff. And lastly, and this is something I do with some of my coaching clients when they're all over the place. They're overwhelmed, they're sad, they don't even know where to start to talk or work on a coaching session because it's too much for them. And what I do in that case is see if they want to do a visualization exercise. And I have several of them that I have in my arsenal that I can pull out. It's like, okay, hey, let's do a 10-15 minute visualization right now. And because I'm talking and they're visualizing this place where I'm taking them to, it's almost like the hypnosis. It's giving them something mentally to do. Even people that have trouble visualizing can do a visualization exercise actually, because you can take them to the place where they feel like they're walking, they're seeing some of these things, they start to visualize. Some people can go deeper than others, but it takes them to a place where it can relieve that mental tension. It can be a place to distract that that mental overload, that spinning of the mind. So that's my last one for the mental range. So for mental calm, I'm just talking about doing all the things for physical calm will help mental calm. um, do something um, that occupies the mind, but not too much. Like I was using solitaire, I was listing things on Amazon, things like that can help distract the mind. And then a visualization. And you can even find visualizations on the phone on an app right now. So it's so cool the world we live in. The last category I'd like to kind of cover is the emotional calm, because especially when you're dealing with a loss, like when I was dealing with the loss of my husband, you're experiencing these waves of grief. At least that's how it came to me. It was I would be calm one moment, and then maybe my mind would think about what's going on, and then I can feel it even now as I talk about a big wave of grief would hit me, and I would just crumble into tears, and I'd cry and cry and cry, and then you finally start to breathe and stop crying, and then you might be fine for a while, and then another wave will hit you. So for the emotional calm, once again, anything that we had listed for the physical calm, take some time alone, do prayer, meditation, contemplation, breathing is going to help the emotional calm. And hypnosis can also do that. Once again, it's taking you to a place of physical calmness, which can take you to a place of emotional calmness. Secondly, I want to say this is the time when you may want to have the family around you. You may want to have the close friend around you. This is the time to make connections with those people you trust and you feel safe to be vulnerable with, to help you with the emotional stress. Because friends, sometimes they're not calming, but some friends, some family members can help you calm down emotionally through a tough transition. And lastly, I don't really have a third example for the emotional because those two cover it. Connection. Now, sometimes you can find an emotional connection. Maybe this is my third one online, is you find a support group. You find people that are dealing with what you're also dealing with, that you can either read about their stories, their experiences, and learn from what they're going through. You don't feel so alone going through what you're going through. But also you can find groups where you can share what you're feeling with them. So finding someone, I just this week I'm starting, this is this will be June 2nd, 2022. I'll be starting a caregiver support group, and it's going to be online. It'll you have to RSVP through Meetup in order to be there. It's going to be safe. It won't be recorded like my other workshops and sessions. it'll just be a safe place to share, to listen to other people's stories. And being a transition coach, I've been a caregiver 3 times, but also being a transition coach, I can help people through that. And that's for all of these transitions, all of these types of transitions, and the tension we have around them, where we need to find that calmness. Coaching can be your key. That's how I started using a life coach for the first time, was after my husband passed away. It took me many, many months to do this, but I noticed a group where people were offering coaching. I watched them. I learned about what they were going through in their life. Like one woman um, had a child with a physical disorder, a physical deformity, that it was that she coached parents that dealt with the same issues. There was a woman who was a business coach. She was kind of a high power um, person who'd worked with executives, worked with politicians, knew that world and knew the stresses of that world and how to coach people through that world. She wasn't quite the right coach for me. The mom was not the right coach for me, but there's a third person in that group who was happily married, who loved her horses, who loved coaching, but she also loved teaching an exercise class. And that was my connection, my first connection to having a coach. And it really helped me. And it helped me want to be a coach also. So that's where my coaching history started, with being coached through a tough transition in my life, and then seeing that, yeah, I want to do that. Maybe I could even be better. Who knows? And I think in some ways, in some niches, I am better because I've been personally through these experiences. That's why I talk about transitions so much, is I've been through so many tough transitions in my 6+ decades of life. And that's why I enjoy talking about it to you. I enjoy um, sharing the techniques that have worked for me in these different situations, so that maybe it's something for you to try that maybe you hadn't thought of, or a perspective that you hadn't thought of. And that's why I'm offering these webinars, and I'm going to be doing these every 2 weeks. I'm going to be doing the caregiver support group every week. If you haven't seen my Facebook Lives, I do a Transition Tip Tuesday every Tuesday at 9 Pacific time. And I also send out little informational emailings once a week. Those go out on Monday. Every Monday is a email, and they're short, they're easy to read, but they're about some aspect of transition, of change, of dealing with this, because we're human beings, we're dealing with our lives. And if there's anything out there that can help us deal with it better, go for it. And what I'm offering are once again the things that have worked for me, things that I've learned about through my coach training, things that other family and friends have shared with me. It all comes together in how we can help each other and how we can move forward after a tough transition and not get stuck in that moment for too long. Sometimes we need to stop and pause and take that breath. We just don't want to get stuck there. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. And we'll put this in the university or the education section. I think I call it education and not university. It'll be in the education section of jeanmcdonald.com. Thank you for joining me. And I look forward to speaking to you again in 2 weeks on some aspect of transition that you might be going through, where I might have some techniques to offer. So until then, take care. contact me through my website and let me know your questions, your interests, what areas you want to hear more about, or what kind of transitions you're going through. So until then, take care. Thank you, everybody, and have a good week ahead. Thanks. Bye-bye.